Good morning and welcome to Big Bets on Campus Live, presented by BetMGM. It's 10 a.m. Eastern, and this is your college basketball conference tournament betting preview. I'm Stuckey. Joining me, as always, are the guys from the three-man weave, Matty Cox, McKeon, and of course, the one and only Mr. Jim Root. We have a lot to get to today. We'll give our best conference tournament futures in just a moment. We'll also get to the Power Conference futures. We'll go through each one, give our thoughts, and if there's a future that we do like, and then we'll finish things up with our favorite long shot each, which should be a lot of fun. But before we dive in, I do want to remind everyone to make sure you download the award-winning Action Network app. You can find all of our bets there, in addition to an abundance of data and content for today's slate and beyond. And also our sponsor, BetMGM, has a great offer. Use the bonus code ACTION when signing up, and you can get first bet insurance up to $1,000. Again, that is the bonus code ACTION for first bet insurance up to $1,000. Gentlemen, you can feel it in the air. It's a wonderful week, championship week. We're basically going to have college basketball starting in about an hour and a half every day, all afternoon, up until we finally have a bracket on Sunday night. Let's just dive right in and get into our favorite conference tournament futures. Matty Cox, our leadoff hitter. Why don't you kick things off for us? What do you got?
Yeah, I'm going home here to start us off here. Duke plus 260. It's not great odds, but the Devils are cruising right now, looking to back my Devils to win the ACC tournament. They're going to potentially line up with Pitt, Miami, and then whoever comes out of the bottom half of that bracket. But the way they match up with every team in that path, for the slight exception of Miami with some issues they might have with their ball screen coverage, we've just seen a different Duke defense. I thought that really was the coming out party of that win against UNC, the regular season sweep of the Tar Heels last week. And the way they're defending both on the perimeter and at the rim, the way their guards are starting to coexist with Roach and Proctor, coexisting as dueling dragons there in the backcourt. Not a great price here at 260. You do have to win 3 games. You might be better off doing the money line rollover here, but I still think in a big picture sense, you want all your chips in on Duke coming down the stretch, as they continue to be undervalued in most of the analytic markets at this point.
Matty likes Duke. Jim, we'll get to the ACC in a moment, but might as well have Jim come in here and maybe hype the good number that he has on Duke and explain why he likes the Blue Devils. Also, what is if you would like to explain to the audience, what is the best win that Duke has over the past 40 days? But Jim, you agree on Duke?
Yeah, well, I liked it at plus 550. So I took it out a week ago. That was before they won at UNC. So obviously the value has shifted, but they're the highest rated team in KenPom, and I think they're playing the best right now. So I kind of buy it. Maddie's boy Proctor has really risen to the occasion. Is the best win in the past 40 days? The one at UNC, Matt? I don't know what the pitch.
I mean, they had NC State buried by 20 points. We got to give some credit to that, don't we? No, Tech by 16 by margin. I think that matters.
Tech's a good win, but we'll get to that later. But Kai, what do you got for your favorite conference tournament future?
I'm going to the SWAC, and I'm taking Southern at 5-1. Picked by many in the preseason to win this league. They're second in the preseason poll. They're just really solid on both ends of the floor, offense and defense. They take care of the ball. They can shoot, and they also force turnovers at the highest rate in the conference. They've already beaten Grambling State. That's their second round opponent and the 1 seed in this league. I like Southern here to make a run.
Yeah, it's the SWAC. So don't look at the favorite, who has absolutely no value here. I would agree. It was either Southern or Texas Southern for me. Love getting some SWACtion on the show this early in the morning. Jim, let's throw it back to you. What is your favorite conference tournament future?
I'm going to the WAC. You mentioned that there's ball tipping soon, and then it's all the way into the night. Usually the night games are the WAC. The 11 p.m. Eastern tip-offs. The Saturday night championship game is late out in Vegas. I'm taking Utah Valley 2-1 here. There's some worse numbers in the market, but I was surprised to see this. A buddy out in Vegas texted me there's a book there that has 225. So look around, see what's the best you can find. This is the best against the spread team in the country this year. They've been fantastic, exceeding expectations. They have the defensive player of the year in the league, Aziz Bandago, and they have been the best team in 2-point percentage offense and 2-point percentage defense in league play. I think that's really sustainable into the postseason. They blew out the 1 seed, Sam Houston State, the one time they played them. So I'm taking Utah Valley to run through that league. I know there's some other potential upset teams that could get through, but I really like this, the makeup of this Wolverine squad.
Jim, yeah, great point bringing up to shop around as always. And did you know that this is the 10-year anniversary of the final Great West Conference Tournament, which Utah Valley was a part of? 5 teams in that conference that year. They all made the conference tournament. The top 3 got a bye. I think it was Utah Valley, NJIT, Houston Baptist. Yeah, you have some very random teams in there. The winner of that tournament did not get an automatic bid. One of the worst tournaments of all time. 10-year anniversary, though. Shout out to the Great West. Good stuff there. We got some SWAC and some whack. Let's throw in some Ivy madness. I'm going to go with Penn here. I think you can find up to like plus 650 out there. I'm trusting in Jordan Dingle and the most experienced team in the 4-team field. This will be played at Princeton over the weekend. And Penn will be right back at the scene of the crime. They were at Princeton last week. They were up by 20, blew that game somehow, lost in overtime. They closed as I think a 1.5 point underdog, which is right in line with my numbers. So I think they're going to get revenge. They match up well with Princeton. Princeton doesn't turn you over, and that's really the weakness of Penn. And, Yale is the best team in the league, but they're going to play a really high variance game against Cornell, who beat them this year. It's going to be how many threes can Cornell hit? So I think there's a lot of value in Penn here. I'm going to trust Dingle. I'm going to trust the experienced Quakers. So give me Penn in the Ivy Madness. All right, let's start going through some of the power conferences one by one. Let's kick things off with the Big 12. Maddie, our leadoff hitter. Let's go through the order once again. What are you seeing here in Kansas City?
Yeah, I know this team has been sort of spiraling lately, but I think Iowa State at plus 10 or plus 1,000 or 10 to 1 is a pretty good bet. The key to this handicap is you want to avoid, in my opinion, Texas and TCU in the bottom of the bracket, especially TCU with the upside that they have. And I can see there's probably going to be a few TCU picks on this show coming up here. I just like Iowa State with the path they have and that the fact they still have some shot making upside. The shot quality still loves their shot profile this year. I know they don't have a ton of offensive talent or elite shot makers, but I think their defense is still rock solid. And I think they do have that upside. As we've seen them make postseason tournament runs in the past, I think they're just built for a tournament, do or die type of format. Should have a really strong showing there in KC. So I'm going to go with the Clones, TJ Oatlesberger and company.
Yeah, the one thing working in their favor is their first round matchup is against Baylor, who they've shown that they match up very well with. They swept them and won convincingly in both regular season meetings. Their zone really gives that Baylor offense issues. We'll see if the Bears can make some adjustments. If that really helps, getting that first game in a really favorable matchup to kick things off. Kai, what are you seeing in KC?
I'm going Kansas State at plus 850. 2 bona fide stars in Keontae Johnson and Marquise Noel, an excellent coach in Jerome Tang, and they've beaten every single team in this league. They look at their price compared to TCU. TCU has shorter odds. Game 1's going to be around a pick, and I'd probably have K-State as a small favorite. So I'd like their value here at plus 850. Yeah, Jim, you can argue it, but pick still and better value than TCU in my opinion. I like K-State.
I completely disagree. I know that Jim probably is. So I'll let Jim start things off for the argument for our TCU Horned Frogs.
Yeah, the Froggies, they ribbit. Let's get going, Horned Frogs. But no, Kai, you mentioned you'd have K-State as a slight favorite. This was a reason Stuckey and I like TCU on the BBOC pod where we previewed the Big 12, as we thought we'd have TCU actually favored there, especially now that Miles looks like he's actually back to full form. We don't know about Lampkin. That's kind of the question mark here, but this is a team with depth. They play defense. They can really come at you in waves. That seems sustainable for me in this bracket. I like that they avoid the opening round, and K-State's a team that can definitely beat. So I do think, Kai, there's in that matchup, there is value on one side or the other because it depends on how you value each team, and then their paths going forward are going to be identical. So I prefer TCU. I get that you prefer K-State. Thankfully, I've got Stuckey on my side to settle the score here.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that K-State beat every team in the league. Well, a lot of them were at home where they've been amazing this year. They did split with TCU, their win against TCU was when Mike Miles didn't play for TCU, pretty important. And I think TCU matches, not only do I have them as a small favorite, I think they match up really well with Kansas State. Kansas State will turn it over. They will allow you to get into transition, and their transition defense is really poor. And if you can't defend in transition, TCU will eat you up. TCU can also get on the offensive glass here. They can get to the rim. So I think it's just a really good matchup against a Kansas State team that just hasn't been the same away from home. I mean, their home court advantage this year has been amazing. So yeah, I like TCU to get through that first round matchup. Then they play a Texas team that they played really tight. I mean, that's basically like a coin flip game in the next round. And then if the chalk or rock chalk holds and they face Kansas in the final, not only did they already beat Kansas in Lawrence, right? So yeah, in Kansas City shouldn't be an issue, but Kansas has depth questions, which could really rear its ugly head here in 3 games in 3 days, right? And their legs might not be there. So I agree with Jim. I'm rolling with the Horned Frogs, and I think that they've shown adequate depth on the front line, even if Lampkin can't suit up to make a run here in Kansas City. All right, good stuff there. Let's move on to the SEC. A lot of injuries like throughout this conference, so key season-ending injuries and then injury questions. Maddie, what are you seeing here? Help us see where the value might be.
Yeah, this one's tough, but Arkansas was the team I had circled here. Musselman's a coach that's proven he can make some tournament runs. Seems like people have forgotten about them. They match up with Auburn first round, a team I just don't like, a team I don't trust. I think they can get past them. Not easily, but I think there's a good value there in that opening round matchup. Then they play A&M, who we'd probably agree, Missouri, Texas A&M, I think the two more vulnerable of the top 4 seeds. You're not going to see Bama until the title game. You have Kentucky looming at the bottom part of that bracket, a team that they punished earlier in the season. So, yeah, I just think the draw sets up very well. And again, I think the key here, as we talked about the Big 12, trying to isolate what part of the bracket, you avoid the Alabama and Tennessee top half by taking a team on the bottom half. So Arkansas is where I'm trying to circle here.
Yeah, I completely agree here with Arkansas. Look, their offense is really ugly at times, but I think this is a good opportunity to buy low on them and then to buy the upside of all of their talent, right? They have 3 potential first-round draft picks. I think they do match up well with Auburn, and I like the spot here. And then when it comes to Texas A&M, look, they can't shoot, and neither can Auburn, especially on the road, which is problematic against Texas A&M because they force you into shooting a ton of threes, and Arkansas needs to get to the rim. But, they beat Texas A&M once, and then they were in a rock fight in the other meeting, and they were in it until the very end, and Musselman decided he didn't want to play Nick Smith that game for some reason. So I don't think that'll be the case again. They can win that game, and you're getting a pretty good price here. And then Kentucky has injury issues, and they're inconsistent. And who knows? They could even struggle with Vandy again. I know Liam Robbins is out, but look what Vandy did in Lexington when he went down early. So, yeah, I think the bottom half of the bracket is the way to attack because Alabama, their path is pretty easy. And then you throw in the injuries that Tennessee has suffered, Castleton in Florida. But I think they're priced correctly. No value there. And they're still dealing with that off the court stuff. They haven't been the same since. I don't know if it's a coincidence or not. So I agree. Attack the bottom of the bracket. And I'm with you. I think it's Arkansas here. Kai, how about you? Where are you looking here?
Value-wise, it's Mizzou for me. You can get them at 30-1. They have a double bye. In this conference, in this bracket. They're priced at the 7th or 8th shortest odds. I think that's crazy from a value perspective, and their likely opponents have major question marks. Tennessee has the injury. Alabama, 0-4 against the spread since the Brandon Miller news came out. And also the Tigers can get hot. They can get hot in a hurry. They can definitely have a streak of great shooting, and they have to win 3 games in 3 days. 30-1 sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you just think about it in a vacuum that they have though by Tennessee does not. And if you look at the price difference between those two teams, it is astonishing. And Missouri won at Tennessee earlier this season. So you're right. They do have the upside, especially on the offensive end. Can you trust them away from home? I'm not sure, but the price is definitely appetizing. Jim, how about you? What are you seeing here?
I'm going Texas A&M, and it kind of echoes every point you guys made about Arkansas, where I want to be on that bottom half where there's no Alabama, no Tennessee, and you potentially get Kentucky without Wallace. And this whole league can't shoot. That's why Texas A&M has been so successful running through it. It's the 32nd ranked conference in terms of 3-point percentage. A&M's defense is really, really compact. They're super deep, so I think that helps for that 3 games in 3 days scenario. Look what they did in this event last year. It's not the same team, but they got all the way to the finals. They're better this time around. Wade Taylor's emerged into a true star. They make free throws. They get to the free throw line a ton. So it's kind of like what you guys said about Arkansas, but a team that doesn't have to win 4 games. They've just got the 3 games. They don't have to go through Auburn to start. So I'll ride with the Aggies, even though it's a team I don't love in the NCAA tournament. I like them in the SEC tournament because of the fact that they're not going to play someone that can shoot.
Yeah, it's one of the interesting storylines for the SEC teams heading into the actual NCAA tournament is are they going to shock to their system? They're going to run into teams that can actually shoot from the outside. I think the SEC is 32nd among conferences in 3-point percentage, which is part of the reason why a lot of these defenses have such elite 3-point defense numbers. So definitely an interesting storyline to watch, and it does favor, Texas A&M schematically. They really force you to shoot a lot of threes, and there's not many great shooting teams in the SEC. All right, let's move on to the Big Ten Conference Tournament. What a puzzle this ended up being, all the way until the final game with a scoreboard smoking in Rutgers, where if Northwestern won, they were a 2 seed. If they lost, they would drop all the way down to a 9. They ended up winning, and they were one of the 4 teams with a double bye. Really fascinating bracket. Maddie, our leadoff hitter, I'll kick it to you first. What are you seeing here in the Big Ten?
Yeah, well, I'm targeting the team who's playing Rutgers first round. Michigan got the 8-9 draw with Purdue lurking in that next round. And then I think if you get past Purdue, that's probably an easier part of the bracket with the Michigan State, Iowa, whoever comes out of that sliver of the field, versus you're avoiding Indiana, Northwestern, Illinois, Maryland, some dangerous teams in the bottom half. I just like the way the Michigan team starting to play. It's really been proven lately that they're not just a Hunter Dickinson show. Just the way the role players have stepped up. Doug McDaniel's solidifying the point guard position. You have Jet Howard back and healthy. But even without him, I think they actually allowed some other guys like Terrence Williams to step to the front. Their backup bigs are even chipping in. It's a team that's also been pretty effective away from home in the Big Ten. The one team that's, one of the few that's proven they can win outside their building, at least play competitively outside their building. So yeah, the Wolverines, I think, are a team that people are sleeping on right now. So 18-1, big number here, but I think there's some value.
Yeah, if you look at what Rutgers has done since losing Mag, I mean, it was really important to their defense. They're just on a trajectory like this since, and I'm not sure they're safely in anymore, especially if they lose this first game. I don't know. I'm not a bracketologist, but they have been just headed in the wrong direction of late. Kai, what are you seeing in the Big Ten?
Yeah, don't love a lot of these because it's a crapshoot in my opinion, but Indiana at 5-1 is where I'm heading with here. Arguably the best player in the country, right, in TJD, and an NBA level guard in Hood Schifino is a pretty good start. They have a double bye. Their path is pretty favorable, in my opinion. You have Maryland, then you have either Northwestern, Illinois, Penn State. That's enough for me to lean towards an Indiana 5-1 bet.
I'll play. I don't really love anything in the Big Ten either. I'll play devil's advocate there in that, you brought up Missouri with the value. They have the double bye, right? And they have a juicy number. Northwestern is kind of intriguing given that they have the double bye. The price difference between them and Indiana, right? They're the 2 teams that have the double bye in the bottom half of the bracket. You can get a much better price on Northwestern, who swept Indiana and matches up pretty well, right? Their post defense has been good. Their guards on the outside can get penetration against Indiana. So Northwestern maybe looks a little intriguing at the price level, given that they did get the double bye on that final day. But I'm probably staying away from a Big Ten future. I think that's the same case for you, Jim.
Yep, staying away, kind of imploring people not to bet Purdue plus 150. I think that's just terrible value given the form that they're in right now and the fact that there's like 8 teams in this league that could beat them on any given day. The 2 values I like most were actually what Matt and Kai went with there. Michigan really intrigued me with their path, the way they're playing. Like, there's some price in there about maybe not beating Rutgers. I just think Rutgers is a zombie at this point, a corpse, like a very, very beatable team. And Purdue is a vulnerable 1 seed. And then Kai, yeah, Indiana into the quarterfinals, probably the most talented team in the league overall. And they swept Purdue. So that's nice. I wanted to like Illinois, but I hate the path. They're playing Penn State first to crush them twice this season. So I can't quite get there with the Illini. I'm just going to sit out the Big Ten.
Yeah, you mentioned not to bet Purdue. A couple other teams not to bet at their price level. Like Wisconsin 50-1. They got to win. I've seen some people bet that 50-1. They got to win 5 games. You pretty much know their first 3 opponents, and if you just do a money line rollover, you're going to be at like 150-1. That's their like implied odds. So don't take a bad number there. Villanova. We're not going to talk about the Big East. None of us really like a future there. There you can find an 8-1. If they were just, you take their price against Georgetown, and then you assume that they were a pick in their next 3 games against the 3 best teams in the Big East, which they're not going to be a pick. They were just an underdog at home to UConn, who, by the way, per Torvik over the past month, number 1 team in overall adjusted efficiency over the past month in the country. But Nova, I mean, if you just did a money line rollover and assume that they were a pick after Georgetown, which isn't necessarily a gimme, I mean, they should win, you'd be at 10-1 right there. So yeah, model that out. Don't take bad numbers and make sure you understand the path, which is super important. And of course, always shop around. All right, let's move on to the ACC. We already started the show with a Duke love fest, so we don't need to go to Matt and Jim anymore. So let's get some other teams in there. Kyle, kick it to you.
Let's go Miami. Miami at plus 360-ish out there in the market. They're the team I trust most in the ACC. They're the number 1 offense in the league. They're very well coached, and they already proven they can beat Duke. They actually crushed Duke in one of the matchups they faced them with. So split the series there. Comparatively, right now, with Duke's current odds, I lean towards Miami with the better value.
And I'm going to throw out, this is, if you listen to our Big Bets on Campus podcast, maybe you heard Jim laughing at me. Maybe you'll watch him laugh at me now. But I'm going to throw out Virginia Tech again, just like I did last year. When they cashed 15-1, they won 4 games in 4 days. Tougher task this year. No Maddox, and you win 5 games in 5 days. If you can find 40-1 or better, I mean, there was 50-1 out there, which I thought was a ton of value. I'm closer to like 35, 38-1. I know that the prices come down a lot, but it's a team who's done it, right? They won 4 games in 4 days. They're a veteran team. They can, slow the game down. I think they're going to play a lot slower like they did last year, knowing that they don't have a lot of depth and their legs are going to be a question here. And then their path, it's like Notre Dame to start. I make them a 7.5 point favorite. And then it's like NC State, Clemson. These are toss-up games, power rating wise. And then, they're playing Virginia team that I want to sell on that half of the bracket, a team that they split with, a team also that grinds games down to a halt, right? Higher variance. And also that'll help a team that's playing. If they get there, it's their 4th game in 4 days. And then if you get to the final, who knows? Anything can happen. Give me Duke. I don't care. Just get me to the final with this price. Go Hokies. Let's run it back one more time, this time in Greensboro. All right, let's head out west and talk a little Pac-12. Maddie, I think we're going to be on the same page here. I'll kick it to you.
Wazoo. It's time for Kyle Smith to get his postseason glory that he's been waiting for. Had a tough season in terms of wins and losses, but the last few weeks it's been a different team, and it's very simply a healthier roster. You can look at TJ Bamba and his rejuvenated health at the point of attack. Justin Powell, guy who transferred in from Auburn, Tennessee, struggled to start the year. He looks a lot better, and they have a legit pro up front, Mogi, who can be the best player on the floor any game he steps on the hardwood. Already proven they can beat Arizona, did that in Tucson, pretty impressive, and then should have beat UCLA at home. They match up well with the big two in this conference, as I'm calling them. So I think Washington State at 20-1 is maybe the best conference future price out there right now.
Yeah, I love Mogi. Mogi tends to have his best games against these elite teams in the Pac-12 as well. They have size, which you need to go through the Pac-12. They have a lot of talent. They're now healthy. Lost a lot of close games, and they have the anatomy of one of these long shots that you want, right? They can grind the game down. They want to play slow. They also will shoot a ton of threes, and they can make a ton of threes. They can get red hot from 3. So yeah, I really like Wazoo here. Oregon's way too inconsistent for me. Their price is much lower. And look, I know that Wazoo has to play in the first round, but it's essentially a bye against Cal. I have UCLA with some injury questions as well with Jalen Clark. So yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for Wazoo to make a run. But Kai, what are you seeing in the Pac-12?
I have a hard time seeing anybody but UCLA or Arizona winning this tournament. And with the current Jalen Clark injury for UCLA, I'm heading towards Arizona around plus 210 right now. Best offense in the league, a ton of size, experienced guards, and they're a well-coached team. Pretty good formula for a winning effort. And again, I just don't see any other team besides the top two winning it.
Jim, you on the same page?
Yeah, I'm on the same page as everyone. I think Arizona is the favorite to win, or my favorite bet at the current price. I like what Kai's saying there. The USC side of the bracket doesn't worry me. Like they've taken care of USC twice. Think they can do that again. And then on a neutral floor against UCLA with no Clark, I'd be totally fine with that. And I also love Wazoo 20-1. I think that is a terrific bet on that top half of the bracket with as consistent as Oregon has been, and with not knowing what UCLA will look like without their best perimeter defender. The form the Cougars are in, I probably will have some on both of those teams and hope they meet in the final and then just enjoy that one on Saturday.
Love it. All right. Good stuff on the power conferences, but now let's have some fun and talk some long shots. It's our favorite long shot. Maddie, one last time through the batting order. Give us the goods.
Taking Boomers Sooner at 40-1. I mean, this conference has been a bloodbath all season for every team. So there's only a few that really have a lot to play for. Oklahoma being the predominant, team that can't, will not be dancing barring a big time run here. We know their upside's there. They've been competitive as every team in this league has been all year with every team in this league. They beat Alabama. I think with the shot making of Sherfield, it gives them a ceiling that can be sustainable over a few game stretch when you couple in the defense as a foundation, the Porter Moser factor. Just feels like a lot. I understand Texas Tech is a similar angle here, coming out of that playing around as a similar price, but the Mark Adams thing scares me off. So looking within this conference for a long shot, I like Oklahoma 40-1.
Yeah, intriguing part of the bracket in the Big 12 with that Oklahoma State, pretty much a toss-up, because Oklahoma State owned them in the regular season, but Texas owned Oklahoma State, whereas Oklahoma played Texas really close, both meetings. However, I know Oklahoma State dominated Oklahoma in the regular season, but they're just not the same team without Avery Anderson, might work in your favor here for a nice little long shot run in Kansas City. All right, Kai, let's have some fun. Let's throw a dart here. What's your favorite long shot of championship week?
Yeah, how's this for a long shot in quotation marks? 10-1, but it's Cornell. And 10-1 in a 4-team tournament sounds like pretty good odds. They only have to win 2 games. They have proven they can compete with every team in the Ivy. They have an awesome offense. They can shoot. And again, like I've said through a lot of teams I've liked, they are well coached. A little undervalued as well, I think, in the market analytics because they dealt with some injuries. They should be fully healthy now. And again, 2 games, 10-1 odds. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, if they get hot from 3, who knows? But be careful out on that limb with that 10-1 long shot. Jim, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I copied Matt's homework, but I couldn't see the top of the page. So I went with a Big 12 40-1 team. Mine is Texas Tech, though. So kind of what he said, I think everybody in this league has been consistently competitive. And Texas Tech with AMAC on the floor has been a significantly better team. If they get by round 1, they would take on Kansas, who they played super close twice, especially with AMAC on the floor. And the Adams thing, I'm going to go with the angle of it's actually a boost because it sounds like they don't like him. The players were not a fan of playing for him. So it could be a refreshing rejuvenation for them, a little reset button into the postseason here. A team that was predicted to be top 20 in the preseason. Like there was a lot of love for the Red Raiders early and they almost got there late in the season, but had a couple of tough losses that kept them out of the at-large picture. I think they can go on a run in this tournament without Adams and actually give some value to this bet.
Yeah, would play Kansas in the second round, but they played Kansas tough, including at Lawrence recently. The whole Mark Adams situation could go one of 2 ways, right? It could go haywire or it could be a rallying point. That's what you want with a long shot, right? That variance of, okay, what if this goes really well? Since you gave out another Big 12, if you were going to give out another one, would you go Tech, yes or no?
Yeah, just because will you let me back on the show if I don't surrender to your Hokies?
Okay, yes. That was the answer that I was looking for. And I'm going to give out I long shot him. By the way, Vatek's now guaranteed to lose to Notre Dame, so I would not join me in that future this year. But I'm going to give out one, Jim, that I know that you agreed with me on our Big Bets on Campus podcast. Let's go UCF. I think you could find up to 40-1 out there. And look, the top half of the bracket, it looks like Houston is going to get to the final. Pretty easy path. They're, I think, minus 330, 340. I don't see any value in that number, especially if, because Memphis matches up so well with them, right? They're 7-0 against the spread over the past 4 years in the regular season against them. If the chalk holds and Memphis gets there, there would be no value in having that ticket. But Memphis has some landmines in the bottom half of the bracket. You have Tulane, who swept them this year. However, Tulane, not a lot of depth, and I think they've been, feeling that, and their legs have given out, and they're kind of fading down the stretch. UCF, really interesting team. I think that they can really benefit from a reset here. They dealt with some injuries to their point guard, Darius Johnson. He's back. They have a potential first-round draft pick in Hendricks. It's a team that can slow the game down, and they lost at Memphis by 1. They beat them at home in double overtime. They even fought well with Houston if they can get there. So I think this is a really good price for a talented UCF team. So let's ride with the Knights. Good stuff, gentlemen. About an hour until we really get the madness started. Thanks to all of you for joining me. Thanks to all of you out there for tuning in. Thanks to our audio and video teams on the back end. Couple final reminders. Make sure you download the award-winning Action Network app. You can find all of our bets there, in addition to an abundance of data and content for today's slate and beyond. Also, BetMGM. When you sign up, use the bonus code ACTION, and you can get first bet insurance up to $1,000. One final reminder, we have a watch party for the Elite Eight on Saturday in Hoboken at Mad Hatter. Go to actionnetwork.com or check out my Twitter for more info and the RSVP link. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, for another episode of Big Bets on Campus Live. Good luck on all of your wagers. Cheers.